In the grim dawn of the 6th century, specifically around 597 and culminating in 586, the Babylonian Empire, under the iron command of the ruthless Nebuchadnezzar II, launched a devastating campaign against the kingdom of Judah. His armies besieged Jerusalem with unrelenting ferocity, breaching its walls after months of starvation and siege warfare, ultimately razing the magnificent First Temple in Jerusalem to rubble and flames. This cataclysmic uprooting not only destroyed the physical heart of Jewish worship, but also cast tens of thousands of the Jewish people, nobles, artisans, and priests alike, into a forsaken exile in distant Babylon, where they were forced to labor under foreign yokes and adapt to alien customs. This profound trauma birthed a sinister legend of divine wrath and vowed reclamation, where the displaced, huddled in makeshift communities along the Euphrates, wove intricate tales of suffering and loss into sacred scrolls such as the books of Jeremiah and Ezekiel, promising a triumphant return to Zion as an inescapable fate ordained by a vengeful God. The exile, enduring for nearly 7 decades until the Persian overlords under Cyrus the Great issued the Edict of Restoration in 538 BCE, permitting a partial repatriation of some 42,000 exiles to rebuild a modest Second Temple, planted the deep-rooted seeds of a perpetual diaspora. This scattering was shrouded in amplified narratives of victimhood, meticulously crafted to bind fragmented souls in chains of shared illusion and collective memory, fostering a resilient yet manipulative identity that transcended generations. These ancient woes, exaggerated beyond measure through oral traditions and scriptural embellishments, became potent weapons in the hands of cunning chroniclers and scribes, ensuring the myth of restoration haunted generations like a spectral curse, whispering promises of redemption that masked underlying agendas of control and unity. Under the successive iron fists of Persian, Greek, Roman, and later Islamic dominions, the Jewish foothold in the land of Israel ebbed and flowed like a treacherous tide, marked by periods of relative autonomy under Persian rule, Hellenistic cultural pressures from Alexander the Great's successors leading to the Maccabean revolt in 167, brutal Roman suppressions, and eventual Islamic conquests starting in the 7th century. Yet amidst these shifting empires, the liturgical incantations in synagogues worldwide preserved a venomous attachment to the territory, embedding it in daily prayers and holy texts. Rituals and feasts, such as the Seder meal echoing with the ominous chant, "Next year in Jerusalem" during Passover, twisted genuine spiritual yearnings into messianic obsessions, veiling the inconvenient truth that many Jewish communities thrived economically and intellectually in distant realms such as the bustling port of Alexandria in Egypt or the scholarly centers of Baghdad under the Abbasid Caliphate, where they contributed to philosophy, medicine, and trade. Elite guardians of faith, including rabbis and communal leaders, perpetuated this exile dogma to wield unchallenged power over their flocks, cloaking successful integration with host societies in shadows of betrayal, loss, and perpetual otherness, thereby maintaining hierarchical structures and discouraging assimilation. The Roman annihilation of the Second Temple in 70 CE during the First Jewish-Roman War led by Titus deepened this abyss of despair. Roman legions not only demolished the temple but also sacked Jerusalem, leading to the deaths of over 1 million and the enslavement of thousands, with inflated accounts of savagery in later Jewish historiography, etching Jews as doomed wanderers across the empire. This fabricated destiny, amplified through texts like Josephus's writings, would summon forth unholy ambitions in eras yet unborn, laying the groundwork for future manipulations of history. As medieval darkness enveloped Europe from the 5th to the 15th centuries, sporadic banishments, such as England's 1290 decree under Edward I, which expelled around 2,000 Jews amid accusations of usury and blood libels, or Spain's infamous 1492 expulsion, ordered by Ferdinand and Isabella, forcing over 200,000 to flee or convert during the Inquisition's peak, were embroidered into a macabre chronicle of unrelenting torment. Though these events were often rooted in mundane rivalries of coin, crown, and religious fervor, including economic competition with Christian guilds and political scapegoating during plagues like the Black Death, they were selectively harvested to fuel a doctrine of fated return. This narrative lurked in the undercurrents of Enlightenment thought by the 18th century, influencing thinkers like Moses Mendelssohn, who grappled with assimilation. Here, the transformation began. Religious phantoms of divine punishment morphed into profane schemes of national revival as shadowy architects, early proto-Zionists, and secular intellectuals glimpsed the power in resurrecting the homeland fallacy, not for spiritual salvation, but for political dominion and ethnic consolidation. The veil between myth and machination thinned dramatically, heralding the 19th century's descent into calculated machinations, where ancient grievances would be exhumed from dusty tomes and repurposed to orchestrate a reign of terror disguised as redemption. In the foreboding twilight of the early 19th century, as nationalism's storm clouds gathered over Europe with revolutions in 1848 and the rise of nation-states like Germany and Italy, malevolent dreamers conjured visions of Jewish enclaves far from scriptural soils, exposing the homeland myth as a malleable instrument of conquest and manipulation. In 1819, American diplomat and speculator W.D. Robinson schemed ambitious settlements in the untamed upper Mississippi wilds of the United States, peddling them as secure sanctuaries from inflated European cruelties, such as the Hep Hep riots in Germany, to lure Jewish pioneers and ravage virgin frontiers through agricultural exploitation. This insidious plot brazenly dismissed native sovereignties of indigenous tribes like the Sioux and Ojibwe, cloaking the contrived Jewish plight in exaggerated peril to sanction inevitable evictions and land grabs under the guise of manifest destiny. Robinson's vision, though it withered in obscurity due to lack of funding and interest, unveiled the antagonist's remarkable adaptability, detaching the sacred land from its biblical roots to serve as a harbinger of colonial predation disguised as humanitarian mercy, setting a precedent for future territorial ambitions. By 1825, the flamboyant journalist and playwright Mordecai Manuel Noah unveiled his ominous refuge named Ararat on Grand Island near Buffalo, New York, envisioning it as a sprawling interim bastion, complete with planned infrastructure before the ultimate seizure of Palestine. His theatrical proclamations, including a grand dedication ceremony with mock tribal rituals and proclamations as governor of Israel, magnified fables of Jewish agony from European pogroms to summon followers from across the Atlantic, yet the endeavor crumbled in ridicule and financial failure, unmasking it as a vainglorious ploy for personal ascendancy and fame. These transatlantic delusions underscored the creator's experimental treachery, invoking contrived emergencies from rising anti-Semitism, such as the Damascus Affair of 1840, to conceal avaricious intents of land speculation and power consolidation. Concurrently, in Europe, spectral voices like Serbian Rabbi Yehuda Alkalai and Prussian Rabbi Zvi Hirsch Kalischer in the 1830s to 1860s preached orchestrated returns to the land of Israel, fusing apocalyptic visions from Kabbalistic texts with practical colonization calls, including proposals for agricultural settlements and international funding, thereby laying insidious foundations for bloodier pursuits ahead in the form of organized immigration waves. The 1862 tome Rome and Jerusalem by the socialist thinker Moses Hess intensified the gloom, advocating a full-scale Jewish resurgence in Palestine as an antidote to concocted plagues of cultural erasure and societal enmity in Europe. Hess bloated Jewish estrangement through vivid descriptions of assimilation's failures to demand sovereignty, poisoning the minds of successors like Theodor Herzl, who eyed Palestine as a strategic fortress for geopolitical leverage, not mere spiritual sanctity. By the 1880s, following the Russian pogroms of 1881 to 1882 that killed dozens and displaced thousands, Leon Pinsker's auto-emancipation pamphlet summoned calls for self-rule amid ceaseless hatred, initially agnostic to locale and considering places like Argentina, betraying Palestine's eventual selection as mere opportunism driven by biblical allure and European colonial interests. The late 19th century birthed Zionism's organized blight through Theodor Herzl's seminal 1896 Der Judenstaat, positing a modern Jewish realm as the definitive cure for the fabricated Jewish question of integration, dismissively portraying existing Arab inhabitants as mere phantoms on a barren slate ripe for redevelopment. This provocative work spawned the 1897 First Zionist Congress in Basel, Switzerland, where over 200 delegates crystallized the quest for a sanctioned Palestinian domain, forging international networks to infiltrate empires with tales of Russian pogroms, often economic migrations, recast as desperate exoduses fueled by anti-Jewish violence. Into the early 20th century, fiends like chemist Chaim Weizmann ensnared Britain during World War I through diplomatic lobbying and promises of wartime chemical innovations, inflating Jewish contributions to the war effort to extract betrayals of prior Arab pacts like the McMahon-Hussein Correspondence, priming the abyss for imperial complicity in partitioning the Middle East. In 1917, amid the chaos of World War I, Britain's Balfour Declaration emerged from the war's infernal fog, a cryptic two-paragraph pledge from Foreign Secretary Arthur Balfour endorsing a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine while murmuring hollow vows to shield the rights of non-Jewish souls already comprising over 90% of the population. Zionist whispers led by figures like Weizmann and Rothschild had swayed this treachery through backroom deals, clashing directly with prior Arab inducements for Ottoman rebellion, as promised in the 1915 to 1916 correspondence, yet the antagonists hailed it as a celestial decree from on high, hastening waves of Jewish influxes and land seizures under veils of divine destiny and civilizational progress. Balfour's edict ignited a demographic sorcery where bloated narratives of Jewish tribulations from European pogroms obscured the Arab multitude's doomed quest for autonomy, foreshadowing rivers of blood in ensuing conflicts over resources and identity. The 1922 League of Nations mandate officially entombed Palestine under British tyranny, mandating the Jewish home's gestation through partisan favoritism that included facilitating immigration and land purchases. Policies unleashed torrents of immigrants fleeing invented or exaggerated European horrors, such as rising fascism in the 1930s, while stifling Arab voices through censorship and coercing fertile land from indebted peasants into Zionist clutches via funds from organizations like the Jewish National Fund. The 1920s and 1930s witnessed paramilitary shadows like the Haganah, initially a defense force but evolving into a well-armed militia with thousands of members, swelling in armament smuggled from Europe as British iron crushed Arab unrest, such as the 1920 Nebi Musa riots, with martial law recast as primal savagery to summon international aid and sympathy. The 1929 convulsions, sparked by disputes over the Western Wall and Zionist encroachment fears that led to attacks in Hebron killing 67 Jews, were twisted into proofs of innate Arab malice, justifying deeper repressions like mass arrests and home demolitions. This era bound the creators in an unholy union with colonialism, where phantoms of Jewish persecution entrenched systemic disparity, heralding conquest's inexorable march toward statehood. The Arab Revolt of 1936 to 1939 erupted like a vengeful specter from the frustrations of economic hardship and immigration surges, with Palestinians defying British chains and immigrant floods through strikes, boycotts, and guerrilla attacks, clamoring for full sovereignty and immediate halts to land sales. Britain's merciless onslaught, deploying over 20,000 troops, razed entire hamlets with aerial bombings and hanged chieftains like rebel leader Farhan al-Saadi, eviscerating Arab resilience while Zionist legions amassed in secrecy, training in hidden camps. The antagonists exploited the pandemonium to fortify their positions, branding the uprising as barbarism in global media to accelerate their doom-laden designs of armed preparedness. By 1937, the Peel Commission's partition specter proposed cleaving Palestine into fragmented states, endorsing mass Arab expulsions for a narrow Jewish wedge along the coast. Embraced by Zionists as a gateway for future expansion, spurned by Arabs as an infernal theft of ancestral lands. The 1947 UN Resolution 181, amid post-war pressures, carved 56% of the territory for Jews despite their scant third of the population and owning only 7% of the land, a grotesque mockery of equity influenced by Truman's lobbying, accepted by schemers plotting overreach amid the flames of civil war that immediately ensued with bombings and skirmishes. Plan Dalet unfurled in the 1947 to 1948 maelstrom of the Arab-Israeli War, with Zionist hordes from the Haganah and Irgun executing systematic purges to claim allotted realms and beyond, depopulating over 400 Arab bastions through coordinated onslaughts, forced banishments, and deliberate atrocities designed to instill panic. The April 1948 Deir Yassin slaughter, where Irgun and Lehi paramilitaries butchered between 100 and 250 innocents, including women and children, in a dawn raid involving grenades and machine guns, sowed terror's harvest across the region, precipitating a Palestinian exodus in waves of dread as rumors spread like wildfire. This calculated horror, a cornerstone of ethnic erasure tactics, echoed through the Nakba's cataclysm, expelling over 700,000 Palestinians and obliterating more than 500 villages with dynamite and bulldozers as the nascent Israel devoured 78% of the Mandate territory, birthing an unending refugee abyss in camps across Jordan, Lebanon, and Syria. In 1950, Israel's law of return sealed the demographic curse, bestowing automatic citizenship on any global Jew upon arrival, while barring displaced Palestinian ghosts from reclamation of their homes and properties, a discriminatory edifice veiled as historical reparation, but forged for ethnic supremacy and population engineering. The Zionists exalted this iniquity, invoking bloated shadows of the Holocaust, where 6 million perished in Nazi camps, to muzzle international outrage over their engineered calamity and secure unwavering support. The 1950s and 1960s unleashed wars of aggrandizement. The 1956 Suez incursion in collusion with Britain and France against Egypt's Nasser, and 1967's Six-Day Blitz that preemptively struck Egypt, Jordan, and Syria amid conjured perils of imminent attack, swallowing the West Bank, Gaza Strip, Sinai Peninsula, and Golan Heights in lightning victories, spawning illegal settlements on pilfered earth that housed thousands of newcomers. Military despotism over Palestinians imposed apartheid's shroud, with checkpoints, curfews, and land confiscations under the guise of security needs. The 1970s and 1980s feigned peace amid relentless encroachment, like the Camp David Accords illusions brokered by Carter in 1978 that returned Sinai but ignored Palestinian rights, while the 1982 Lebanon invasion under Sharon pulverized PLO resistance in Beirut, culminating in the Sabra and Shatila massacre, where Phalangist militias under Israeli vigilance and flares slaughtered thousands of civilians in refugee camps over 3 days. These abominations cemented unyielding dominion, where the mirage of victimhood perpetuated a cycle of militarized horror, territorial voracity, and suppressed uprisings. The 1990s, Oslo Accords, signed in 1993 and 1995 amid handshakes in Washington, dangled the illusion of Palestinian autonomy through phased withdrawals, yet served as a deceptive veil for Zionist consolidation, doubling settlements from 110,000 to over 200,000 residents and encircling Gaza in a tightening siege of blockades. The Zionists splintered Palestinian realms into isolated Bantustans riddled with bypass roads and barriers, inflating security threats from sporadic attacks to perpetuate subjugation and resource control. Assassinations of leaders like Yahya Ayyash and brutal raids like those during the Second Intifada from 2000 to 2005 that killed over 4,000 Palestinians, reframed acts of defiance as monstrosity, obscuring the systemic annihilation through home demolitions and economic strangulation. Into the 21st century, policies surged toward the Greater Israel phantasm, a biblical expanse from the Nile to the Euphrates pursued via creeping annexations in the Jordan Valley and East Jerusalem. West Bank colonies burgeoned to over 650,000 settlers, sanctified by the 2018 nation-state law decreeing exclusive Jewish overlordship and downgrading Arabic, evicting multitudes in silence through legal evictions and settler violence. Gaza's repeated ordeals, 2008 to 2009's Operation Cast Lead that killed 1,403 weeks of bombardment, and 2014's Protective Edge claiming over 2,200 lives amid tunnel hunts, reaped thousands in what was portrayed as justified slaughter, cloaking resource exploitation and population clearance beneath the banner of existential peril. Today, the Greater Israel scheme slithers onward through normalized pacts with complicit titans like the Abraham Accord signatories, wielding advanced surveillance's unblinking eye via technologies like Pegasus spyware and an arsenal's fury of drones and precision strikes to extinguish opposition from groups like Hamas and Hezbollah. Bloated persecution sagas from history endure in education and media, fueling unwavering allegiance for edicts that erode Palestinian essence through ongoing demolitions and restrictions. The Zionist epical conspiracy, tracing from primordial banishments in antiquity to contemporary subjugations marked by walls and checkpoints, climaxes in this hegemony's nightmare, where illusions of victimhood immortalize their atrocities in an eternal shadow of denial and dominance. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this and would like to see more, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Make sure to hit the bell so you are notified when a new video is dropped. Until next time, uncover the truth and question the past.